Just want to say hello to everyone who's signing on promptly. We'll get going momentarily as we watch the numbers climb. So welcome, relax, and we'll be with you in a moment. Again, thank you to everyone signing on. We're just going to be patient as others join, and we will get started with the program shortly. So welcome. Hello, hello. We have a student in the chat who just said hello from Russia, who I believe was in a session with us months ago prior to applying. So it's wonderful to see students like you come full circle. Good, good, good. Excellent. Well, we will wait one more moment. Oh, it's only 8:01 here in Lewiston, Maine. We'll wait until 8:02 and then we'll get started. We're expecting close to 200 students and family members today. So happy to see we're over 170. And Ukraine, hi Anna. Hello. Don't be shy. We love seeing the action and the love in the chat. So for those of us in admission, we recognize so many names. It's fun to see. And Bangladesh, awesome. I need to get my world clock out. I'm clear to just simply say hello and not good morning, good evening, good day. Okay. I said 8:02, it's almost 8:03. So we will get rolling, and I will start by simply saying welcome again and again and again. I am Lee Weisenberger, Vice President for Enrollment and Dean of Admission and Financial Aid at Bates. And you can see right now, if I understand correctly on screen, that I'm joined by some colleagues here. As the program moves on, we will slowly move. So those of us who are speaking in that moment are simply featured on screen here. But really want to just start off by again saying welcome and a big, big congratulations, certainly from me personally, but from all of us in the offices of admission and student financial services, along with our colleagues across campus. Certainly our current students, our faculty, soon to be your future professors, and the thousands of Bates alums across the world. So this is a big moment, a moment for you to celebrate having been admitted to the Bates class of 2026. So I will say that this is a thrilling day again for you, as it's been what? 3+ months that you were waiting for us to all be together, but also for us as you just heard a little bit of chatter. If you were in the room the last couple of minutes, have gotten to know you over those last 3 months. And while we're in a virtual situation, really just pleased to be able to connect with you in this way. As you can see, we have over 200 students who've signed on, and I want to take a few moments to just recognize all that you represent. By no means is this exhaustive, but just to give you a sense of who is with us today. We'll start by saying we had a record year in Bates admission, to say the least. We had a record number of applicants to the college, having crested 8,200, I should say being absolutely 8,273 applicants to the college, which was a record number of students applying to join the Bates class of 2026. and a significant increase over last year. It also was an incredibly selective year for admission to the college, and we admitted about 13% of our applicants to join the Bates class of 2026. So I just want to take a moment for you to give yourselves a pat on the back, for all of us to give you a round of applause, knowing what an accomplishment that was, to say the least. However, you are so much more, beyond more than the numbers. And I think that's what really excites us as we think about our work and the texture and the dynamic sort of character that you'll be bringing to the community. So you have a myriad of interests represented here, both inside and outside of the classroom. You represent exceptional strength of character, talents galore, and really your clear ambition and desire to be at a place like Bates, and really specifically Bates, as an integral community member. I will share, we also admitted students from 50 states, along with Puerto Rico, and 42 countries across the globe, which is incredible to celebrate as we think about the global representation. 40% of the students that we admitted overall to the class of 2026 identify as BIPOC students, so Black, Indigenous, people of color. 10% are international students, so students who have citizenship outside of the US. And 14% of the students we admitted will be the first in their families to attend college, along with us as an institution dedicating $12 million in need-based financial aid, making sure that a Bates education is accessible to you. So I could go on and thinking about the stats. As I see the names pop up, stories are alive and well in my brain. But again, just want to start off by saying a warm welcome and a huge congratulations in being admitted to the Bates class of 2026. So I will now turn it over, as this is our big welcome kickoff event for the next 6+ weeks or so, where we will continue to get to know you as you ultimately make that final college choice, which we hope is Bates. But I will now turn it over to my dear colleague, Clayton Spencer, who is the president of Bates. And I think you'll find in the next few moments or so just how wonderfully open Clayton is. You'll find her to be very down to earth. And also don't be afraid to ask her some tough questions. She's ready and willing to answer anything and everything that's on your mind. So with that, I'll turn it to Clayton.
Thank you, Lee, for giving me the honor to talk to this amazing group, about which I've heard some amazing things. And I just want to say welcome all of you guys to Bates for tonight. I hope forever. But we'll talk a little bit about that, because you're here because you have a choice to make. We've made our choice. Lee and her colleagues in the admission office, they were looking at the largest applicant pool in the history of Bates College. And guess what? We have chosen you, and we really want you to choose us back. But here's the deal, only if it feels right. And the hardest thing when you're living your life is how to make a choice and figure out if it's the right choice. How are you supposed to know whether something feels right? And one of the reasons this is tricky is that when you see all these people you admire and their fancy careers, and it seems like Michelle Obama was destined to be first lady and be a fashion icon, that Dr. Fauci was destined to be the voice of reason in the pandemic, that Steph Curry was destined to sink 4 gazillion three-point shots. But that's only because we can look at their life in reverse and we see where they got to. But you are young and you have choices that are ahead of you. So ultimately, your life will be able to be viewed in reverse. Like imagine an aerial shot flying over it. You'll be able to tell where you started and where you ended up. But at each point, you have a choice to make. And one of the things we try to teach you in a liberal arts college is to think in an integrated way about your choices. Take in different kinds of information, social, emotional, brain, cognitive. What's the place look like? Where is it located? Is it large or small? All of those factors that are just information about the college, but also how do you get a feel for it? And ultimately, what you want to do is take in all this information, because if you come to a liberal arts college, you don't just say, I'm going with my gut. You take in the evidence, and then your gut plays a huge role. So we ask you to consider some things. And I chose to come to Bates. I was working at a different university for years before I came to Bates. And I'll tell you the things I noticed about Bates that made me want to come here to be president of Bates. Frankly, I'd rather be a student at Bates because it's so cool how much you get to learn. But I'll tell you the things that kind of grabbed me, and you can think if they might be things you factor in. One thing is our mission and history. We were founded by Free Will Baptists in the mid-19th century. And their big thing was they believed that all human potential deserved to be developed. So they were people who put their ideals into action. And they uniquely in the mid-19th century, almost uniquely, I think Brown was also ahead of its game doing this too, but they admitted African Americans along with white people to study. It was the first co-educational college in New England, women studying along with men. This wasn't typical then. Bates was way ahead of its time. Now we look like a lot of other liberal arts colleges, but I want you to understand that these commitments and these values are deep in our DNA. And part of what you want to look at when you're kicking the tires and seeing what these different colleges have to offer. So that's sort of a mission and history. The other thing that's interesting about it is the people who founded Bates, we never had fraternities or sororities. Now, a lot of people have moved away from them now, but we never had them. Why? Because our founders, these same idealists, said, why would you invite people to a place to have a life-transforming experience and then make certain people be in the club and certain people out of the club? That's social hierarchy. They didn't believe in that. Again, deep in our DNA and deep in our student culture. So our student culture to this day, I would describe, I walk across from my house, which is on the edge of campus, right across over into the middle of campus every morning. And kids stop and talk to me. I stop and talk to them. A lot of the guys in the morning actually avert their eyes, no eye contact. They can pretend they didn't see me. But what I will tell you is the students at Bates are authentic, low key. And one of the things I love most about Bates is that everything is open. So I once was talking to a young friend of mine, the daughter actually of someone I knew who was going to a big university. And she always played the flute in high school and was really good. And I'd heard her play the flute. She went to flute camp every summer. And I said, oh, are you going to play the flute at your big fancy university? And she said, oh no, I didn't play in Carnegie Hall when I was 7. So there's no way I could get in the orchestra to play the flute. And I want to tell you, you don't have to have played any instrument in Carnegie Hall before you were 10 to try anything at Bates. It's wide open. One of the best student actors I ever saw at Bates, I saw him in a play. He was the lead in a very, very challenging play. I saw him, I was blown away. I went and found him on campus. I ran into him soon after and I tackled him and I said, I hope you are going to New York or LA because you need to pursue acting professionally. And I said, have you been doing this all your life? He said, no, I was in my first play junior year at Bates. And guess what? He's gone on to be a professional actor. I'm still waiting to see him on the big screen, but we'll all keep our eye open. The last thing I would say about the student culture is the most important place on the Bates campus is Commons, which is where you eat your meals. It's a big hall, beautiful architecture so that They're small places you can sit in small groups, places you can sit if you kind of want to get the vibe of everybody who's coming and going. You can camp out there for 3 hours at lunch, 3 hours at dinner. It is the beating heart of Bates, and our food is fantastic. And one of the things in the pandemic, which I have to say Bates students rose to the occasion, and both they and the college has come through that experience wonderfully well. But for a time when we didn't have vaccines and we had to be super careful about transmission, students had to eat grab and go food, not eating in commons and camping out. And the minute we flipped the switch and they were able to go back in commons, the mood on the campus was great. So there's tons of ways to get to know Bates virtually in this day and age, but if you come to campus, make sure you check out Commons. So mission and history, student culture, and then the other thing I would say, and this really struck me when I was coming from a bigger university, was how academically serious Bates is. And I want to tell you about 2 courses that have been, one's going on now, one went on first semester. So one is taught by a professor named Lynn Lewis, and it's called Climate Economics and Policy. So she's a really, really first-rate economist who focuses on environmental issues. And she's teaching a course now, a seminar called Fat Tails and Tipping Points. And fat tails are events that are low probability, but they have a big impact if they happen. So like a forest fire in an area that doesn't usually get them, but it could wipe you out. So what is she doing in that course? She's working with students to figure out, how do you calculate the social cost of carbon emissions? Because if you don't price it right, you're not going to have the right policy incentives in the economy to get people to be trying to have a positive impact on the environment. And more basically, how do you incorporate uncertainty into economic models? The biggest challenge to economic models is that they tend to be too cut and dried. And one of the things they do in environmental economics is they tend to underestimate the impact of environmental trends. And then tipping points can be positive or negative. And she spends a lot of time trying to show how to set policy things up right so that we get the country on the right track. And if the incentives are all wrong, and if businesses can't afford to do the things, they won't happen. Another course I thought I would tell you about is a first-year seminar, which is a course you take in your first semester here, maximum of 16 students, with a faculty member who is the advisor to that whole cohort of students and remains your advisor all of freshman year and sophomore year. And a faculty member who I know well taught a course called Making Meaning of Maine. So it was about Maine, but it was also about, how do you think about places and the people who live there? How do certain stories get going? Like, Maine is cold and remote. Oh, there's LL Bean and the Boots. There's lobster and lobstermen. What takes hold and why? And it was a really cool course. I mean, they read novels, poetry, travel narratives, they saw films, they visited places. And then the former Attorney General of Maine, who loves Bates, he went to a different college, but he loved Bates. He went to University of Maine. He came in and talked about certain issues going on in contemporary Maine. A Pulitzer Prize winning novelist who wrote a novel called Olive Kittredge that your parents might have read. I doubt too many of you guys have read. She's a Bates graduate. She came and talked to the class. And the state archivist also came and talked to the class and talked about how people who aren't usually incorporated in the stories of Maine, how to find out about them. So the academic experience that's kind of your day job in college. And there's so much more, and everything here. Our women's basketball team just won the NESCAC championships. Our rowing team has won the entire NCAA championships for the last 5 years, or it's 4 out of the last 5. I don't ever quite get it right. We have drama, we have great ceramics, we have everything, and it's all open to you. And you're not expected to be an expert when you get here. But if you are an expert, we'll take you farther. So these are all things to kind of look at, think about. You can see them, you can feel them, you can read about them, you can evaluate them. But the thing I love most about Bates, and it's my sort of personal motto about Bates, and it was said by E.E. Cummings, and it takes courage to grow up and be who you really are. So what I think you should be looking for in your college choice, and I hope it's Bates, but if you're looking for it and you find it somewhere else, I want you to honor that choice. I want you to make sure that when you look at that college, you can imagine yourself there. You can imagine that the people you meet in the college or in the virtual den that's going to be coming, you'll hear more about in a minute, that you can imagine them being your friends, and you can imagine them going through life with you. Because I think it's really important that these next 4 years of your life get you in your creative center, offer you a transformative experience, and just put you on the map for moving through the world. So I promise you, if you come to Bates, we'll let you be who you really are. But if you're not feeling it, let me be clear. We've chosen you, and we're clear we want you to come here because we've just been so excited by your applications and what your teachers wrote about you and what you said you were trying to get out of it. And I really would love nothing more than to welcome you and your families personally on Monday, August 29th, which is the day the class of 2026, which I hope includes many of you, arrives. So we hope you do feel it, but give us a good hard look. Make sure you're asking authentic questions and make sure you're listening for authentic answers. And then let's let the chips fall where they may, but I hope they'll fall in Lewiston. Okay, I'm going to turn you over to Joe, who's going to talk to you about other ways to get to know each other.
Thank you so much, President Spencer, and thank you, Lee, for really, welcoming the class of 2026. I echo your feelings of excitement and happiness and pure joy, and I do hope that I speak, and I know that I speak on behalf of the entire admission team when I say that we are all so excited to have you be part of the class of 2026. I always like to say whenever I do information sessions or whenever I'm speaking with students or families that there are over 4,000 colleges in the United States alone, not to mention around the world. And there are so many great places where you could thrive at. However, now I will add that we believe that each and every single one of you can actually thrive at Bates and can find that you can do the most at Bates and develop it to its full potential. So we know that, and I hope that you can find that too. And we hope that through the next few weeks, you're able to really find that purpose, that meaning, and stealing from President Spencer's speech, finding that the ways in which you can see that Bates feels right for you. And right now we're just going to go a little bit through an overview of how you can do that, specifically through the Den, which is our virtual admitted student platform. So I will be sharing my screen to share you a little bit about what you'll be coming up against when you go into the Den. If you are in this event and right now with us, that means that you have already registered in the Den, you have set up a profile and you registered for the event. So that's that's great. You've already done a first step, but there is so much more that you can actually do and really participate and be a part of when you come to the Den. And the best way for me to just kind of simply show you and you know, demonstrate this is by dividing it into three main categories of how you can participate and be alongside the Den. The first category that I like to talk about is connect. So the main thing that we want for you to do in the Den is to connect and have meaningful connections with different members of the community. Let that be admitted students, let that be ambassadors, or let that be campus contacts. So you can see all these tabs at the top of the screen. I'll first go to the admitted student tab, which is the one that's most relevant to you all. It's where you will find fellow admitted students like yourselves. We also have students who are coming off from a gap year. We also have students who have already enrolled through early decision 1 and 2, and even the few but mighty regular decision students who have already enrolled with us as well. But mostly you will find that there's students in this platform that are still deciding amongst different options and are still thinking about whether Bates is the place they want to call home for the next 4 years. And this is a great way for you to start connecting with them, chatting with them, and really making use of this platform. A really great feature about the Den and about this tab is that you can also filter it by location. So let's say that you want to know, and connect with people from the state of Maine. So you can simply just type Maine, and you will find all of these students who are part of Maine and who are coming from Maine, and you can connect directly with them. And that can be done for every state in the country and for every country in the world. So if you want to kind of like have those, location-based connections, you can definitely do so. My recommendation is venture off and find connections elsewhere and see where your fellow classmates are coming from. As Lee said, we have a beautiful representation of states and countries around the world. So definitely, be aware that, you will be finding a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds as well. We have two other groups with which you can connect. The first of which that I want to go to is ambassadors. These are basically current students at Bates and also alums who have happily taken on the responsibility of representing current and previous lives at Bates. So they can definitely speak to you about the lived reality of a Bates student and really what it is to be part of a Bates community, what it is to live, what it is to live in Lewiston, Maine, and what it is to come to a liberal arts college. Again, you can also filter the students down by home city, home country, home state, but you can also, in this category, filter it down by topics of interest or academic fields. So let's say that you're interested in chemistry and you want to know other students who are currently majoring or interested in chemistry. You can definitely do so. And you can see there's an array of students who are here to help you out, decide whether chemistry is the best major for you or whether you want to explore some other areas. You can also go by topics of interest. So let's say that you want to talk to students who are varsity athletes. That can also be done, and you can see here a huge array of students who have been current athletes or who are current athletes, and you can ask them all your questions. The last group that I want to show you all is the campus contacts group. So we've talked about current prospective students like you all. We've talked about current students and alums. Now the campus contacts is everyone else at Bates. So it goes from our admission staff and our student financial services staff, as well as other professors and other staff around the college. I would encourage you all to take a good look at this, and if there is someone who is interested or who can talk on the issues and topics that you're interested in, definitely reach out. Let's say that, my colleague Diana, I'm from, let's say, Arizona, and I want to talk to my admission counselor from who's representing Arizona. I can definitely just click her chat box and just send her a message, and just like that, she will receive it, and very promptly she will likely respond to me, as she will to you all. That's also not only for admission counselors, but for faculty, for other staff from across the offices and beyond. So definitely make use of the Den to connect, but there is also a ways for you to engage with the Den, and that's where we move into the events tab. Again, you have already registered for this virtual admitted student welcome, so you know how easy it is to register for events. You can see that we have a huge array of events happening across the weeks. On your end of the screen, instead of seeing view registrants, you'll actually see a button called, that's just register. It's a one-click registration process, and you'll be able to just get access to that meeting or that webinar. Every week from today all the way until April 25th, we'll have virtual programming that will help you kind of get a fuller picture of what Bates is like and really get that sense of whether if it's the best academic fit for you, whether if it's the best social fit for you, whether if it's the best professional fit for you, etc. Every Wednesday, we will have a student experience discussion. This will be conversations led by students who are going to be talking to you about all things Bates, from the first year orientation program to clubs and organizations, to the international student experience, to student activism and how to be a community engaged member, and all the way to varsity athletes. Every Thursday, we will have a faculty spotlight. So we are bringing faculty from across the different academic fields to talk with you all about what it's like to be a professor here at Bates, what courses they're teaching, what research they're doing, and how they actually came to Bates and why they stayed at Bates. And again, we have a plethora of academic disciplines, from economics to biology to French to dance to politics and everything in between. And lastly, we also have what I like to call the miscellaneous panels. So these are panels from other groups on campus that are still equally as meaningful. They're going to be mostly on Tuesday. So we have the alumni panel. Recent alums are going to be talking to you about their time at Bates, but also what they've been doing outside, and after graduating Bates. We also have a student support panel. We'll have representatives from 3 offices: the Office of Intercultural Education, the Harvard Center for Community Partnerships, and the Center for Purposeful Work, who will be talking to you about the networks of support and what you can do both on and off campus while at Bates. And lastly, we will have our last event of the season will be the AMA, the Ask Me Anything with Dean Weisenberger, will be on April 25th. And I believe that's kind of an event for just kind of like all your lingering questions. Maybe at that point, most of you would have already a clearer sense of where you want to spend your next 4 years, but you want to cross everything out. This is a great chance for you to connect once again with Dean Weisenberger and get her to answer all your lingering questions. You'll notice that most of our programming is virtual, and that was intentional given the current circumstances and conditions and the ongoing pandemic. We wanted to make sure that this was as accessible as possible and provide the least risk possible. But we do also have some opportunities to interact in person, and this is where our admitted student tours come to play. We will have 5 different days in which you can come to campus and experience a tour as an admitted student. These will be open only to fellow admitted students. So though it will only be a tour that you'll be able to do on campus, you'll be able to still meet fellow admitted students, connect with them in person, see where they're coming from, see what they're interested in, and build community through that. For this one, you can register as well through the Den, and it will take you to a separate form where you can register what date and time you actually want to come in. But again, it's fairly simple. That's how you engage with us. And the last area that I wanted to kind of like discuss is explore. And this is a way for you to, again, kind of find those niche interests that you have and connect with people who have the same interests as you. If you go to the groups tab in the Den, you'll see that we have 28 different groups that you can join. And I can see many of you have already joined different groups according to what you're interested in, but you'll see that these are divided by academic interests, from the humanities to social sciences, to the arts, to STEM. We also have groups that are divided by clubs categories. So if you're interested in the arts and music through the clubs, you can definitely join that group. You can also join identity-based clubs. You can join health and wellness clubs. And then we have also those miscellaneous topics that we still want you to be a part of. We have a group specifically for international students. We have a group for the multi-faith chaplaincy or the LGBTQIA+ group. We have certain interest or sort of broad questions that we want to explore as a group, like the sense of place or sustainability or outdoors interest. So again, this is a great way for you to just kind of ask your questions, engage deeply with fellow members of the Bates of the Bates College, and really create discussion. I would encourage you all to just go into these groups and ask any questions. This is a space for you to be completely open, completely relaxed, and really engage deeply with people who really want to make sure that they give you the best and the real and the honest answers about what it's like to be at Bates, what it's like to be in Lewiston, what it's like to be in Maine. I already saw that a few days ago. We got a question from in the Health and Wellness Club, and Abby asked about the rescue squad, and very promptly we had Katya actually reply with a very thoughtful answer about how to join the EMT squad here at Bates. So you can see that we are very excited to engage with you. So do not be afraid to use these groups. And lastly, for every group, you will find resources, a resources tab that will share more information about that particular interest. If you go, for example, to the Academics Club, Language and Culture, and you see resources, you can actually see that we have a bunch of different tabs that you can explore. These are tabs according to every different major in the field. We also have different news articles or posts that have been done about the field in general, and you can go one step further with that. And lastly, the resources tab is where you can find more sort of like general picture resources about who we are. Maybe you want to kind of like go back to basics and think about really what makes Bates unique, what makes us, what are our values, our philosophy, our mission. This is a great space for you to explore these topics. So again, I would say that beyond everything that I've explained and talked about, I would say the main thing that we want you to get out of the den is that you can really just have fun, let loose, ask your questions, connect with us. We are very, very excited to connect with you all and make your experience, your next few weeks, and hopefully your next 4 years, the most meaningful experience possible. So once again, I'll stop sharing my screen. Once again, I welcome you all to Bates. I wish you all the very best yield season. I hope that you really engage with us and really explore your options. Felicidades. Thank you all so much for joining us. And now I'll pass it over to Daryl, who will also introduce the rest of the admission team.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Lee, and thanks, Clayton, as well. Hi, everybody. My name is Daryl Uy, and I'm the Director of Admission here. I just want to say congratulations and welcome. We are so thrilled that some of you will be definitely joining us next fall, but also thrilled by the possibility that others who are part of this event tonight are thinking about being part of the Bobcat community too. So again, huge heartfelt congratulations to all of you. A job well done. I know it's been a long sort of high school career, and this process itself is sort of tedious and hard sometimes, but you made it.
I think Daryl may have froze, so I will happily jump in. I think he was finishing on saying congratulations. And I'm mindful of time here. There's some great questions popping up in the Q&A, but I have some of my fantastic colleagues here from admission who would like to just quickly say congrats and introduce themselves and welcome you. And then we will get right to those hot questions. So I'm going to go quickly by who's on screen. Abby, if you want to start off, please.
Sure. Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Ryan. I'm an admissions counselor here at Bates College. I recently just graduated from Bates in May. My role in admissions here is I'm in charge of all of the tour guides, which is awesome. So I'm very excited if you visit us virtually or in person, and hope you had a great experience. And then also I'm in charge of the whole Southeast of the United States, some of Massachusetts, specifically like Nantucket and Cape Cod, and then I'm also in charge of all of Rhode Island. I also do some work with alumni and admission as well. So yeah, I'll pass it to Audrey.
Hi, everybody, and congratulations. My name is Audrey Burns, and I'm a Senior Assistant Dean in the Office of Admission. I also graduated from Bates about 5 years ago, which is exciting. I like to say that I chose Bates twice, first as a student and then again as a staff member, and I am thankful and for the decision that changed my life both times. I helped to do a variety of things in the office, including I'll help manage our parents Facebook group, Parents and Families 2026. So if you're not already in that group, we'll share the link and you're welcome to join. I also help to cover territories in the Midwest, state of Vermont, portions of New York, and the continent of Europe. Sorry, Alec.
Thank you, Audrey. Good evening, everyone, and congratulations. I know you've heard this probably dozens of times now, but I feel like one more is probably okay. I'm also an admission counselor in the office in my first year in the office. In terms of students I work with primarily, be mostly the Midwest. So if you're coming from Ohio, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Indiana, the Dakotas, maybe New York and Western Massachusetts, I would have been one of the people who read your applications, not the only one, but one of them. Yeah, so congratulations once again, and just so nice to see all of you virtually. I'll pass it to Jared.
Good evening, everyone. Jared Rivers here, Senior Associate Dean and Director of Access for the Bates College Admission Office. I've been with the Bates Admission Office for the past 9 years. However, I've actually been in the field for the past 20 years, so it feels like a lifetime. But it's good to be here with you guys tonight. I just wanted to say congratulations in terms of the communities that I work with. Beyond sort of working with diversity enrollment and access for the college, I'm also one of our athletic admission liaisons, so working closely with the athletics department. So congratulations to any of you athletes out there. I also work with transfers. I know they're not here tonight. And also, last but not least, I cover parts of Southern California. I cover the entire state of Illinois. And then I also cover the Bronx and the Queens portions of New York City and a very, very small part of Massachusetts in and around that Andover area. So again, congratulations to everyone. And it's great to be here with you guys. And I will pass it back to Joe.
I'll take it, Jared. Thank you. So yeah, I know we have a few minutes to answer some of your questions. And as I said in the chat, if we can't get to your question tonight, keep on coming throughout the next few days and weeks. We have many events, many people that can answer your questions, not only us. In fact, you might find that there are people who are even more of an expert than we are. So definitely keep them handy and ask them again and again and again. But just kind of like to kick us off with kind of like combining the first two questions, and I'll pass it over to President Spencer. You know, like there's this idea of creating purpose and finding your purpose here at Bates. And I'd love to know, kind of like from your perspective, what are ways in which students kind of like philosophically and also practically find that sense of purpose and that kind of like that prepares them for the next step after Bates. I know many of our attendees are only excited to be coming into Bates, but we also have to think about the time after Bates. So yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. And one of my favorite things here is to talk about our Purposeful Work program, which is a philosophy as well as a lot of great opportunities for our students. And the philosophy is this: maybe sometime in the mid to late 20th century, you could get out of college and walk into a company and walk out 40 years later with your gold watch, and everything was given to you by the outside world. You had to do well, but it was very stable. And in these days, you know that the world is moving at a rapid rate. There's a lot of uncertainty, as we've seen over the last 2 years, as every person on this call has had their life turned upside down and sideways in different ways. And the best shot, we think, at figuring out how to navigate both like what you're interested in doing, learning more about after college, what you're interested in doing for work, is to develop your own strong sense of identity and agency and purpose. Our theory is that happiness for human beings has more to do with meaning, finding something that's meaningful in your life. And then that makes you feel happy and fulfilled, rather than always going after, okay, directly, I want to be happy. You may not get there that way. So we have a philosophical commitment that if you figure out who you are, important aspects of your own identity, what your interests, strengths, and values are, and then figure out a set of experiences that will tell you how to put those interests, strengths, and values to work. So we have a phenomenal internship program, purposeful work internships, and you can go out and find an internship program on your own, but we'll help you do that. But then if it turns out it doesn't pay anything because you want to work in a nonprofit, then you come back and we can fund your internship. We raise over $300,000 every year to fund those internships. And the theory of purposeful work is you try things, you reflect on that experience, and then you adapt afterwards. So we had one student who came from a big city in the US, very urban kind of experience. And all he wanted to do was be a farmer. And so he got a purposeful work internship to spend the summer on a farm actually near here. Beautiful, beautiful farmland. If you're in the farm business, perfect place to be. And then one of the things we do is after you get back in the fall, you give a presentation reflecting on your experience, because it's the reflection that helps you understand, is this my thing or not? And people put together great presentations. And I love going every year. You grab your lunch and you listen to them talk about their internships. And this kid stands up and he goes, well, I have discovered one line of work I never, ever, ever want to have anything to do with again. So his romantic vision of his farm life had crumbled over the summer, and he's off to do many more and different things now, and I've lost track. But so our program is grounded in a theory of the importance of purpose in your life. Purpose is figuring out how to align who you are, what motivates you with what you do. And it's always a cycle of growth and reflection, and that will serve you throughout your life. I think of it as a kind of intel inside for pursuing a career.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If I may just add to that, Clayton outlined it beautifully, but a specific part of one of the questions that was captured asked about clubs at Bates and how those might dovetail with a student's future aspirations, whether they be professional or, as we think outside of our work life, other elements that feed us and feed that purpose, as Clayton outlined. So I would encourage you all, and we can put it in the chat, to check out the 100+ clubs and organizations that exist at Bates. There are a plethora of those. Some are affinity-based clubs. Others have to do with the arts. So it might be an a cappella group, but there are certainly others that might lend themselves well to some sort of career path that you might be on. So there is an investment group on campus that does on occasion work closely with the vice president for finance at the college, or a CFO, as you might refer to them elsewhere. So you get that sort of real live interaction. There are other clubs certainly that are politically oriented, a number of opportunities that aren't directly with clubs, but affiliated through the Harwood Center for Community Partnerships, which takes work that you do in the classroom and directly ties it to work that you do in the community. Some of that does complement clubs, but think about students who might be interested in education, let's say, opportunities for you to work closely in the local school system. So absolutely, outside of the classroom, beyond purposeful work, also clubs and organizations that can lend themselves to your career path. One I will highlight that's really fun is Bobcat Ventures. It's not so much a club, but it's a celebratory moment on campus. It's sort of like Shark Tank at Bates. And we literally have funds. Students put forward, they pitch their business ideas. We have some Bates trustees and other entrepreneurs who once attended the college come back and they serve as the judges. And that is really a great moment as we think about students putting to test their ideas and their future. So just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And considering time, I want to make sure that we answer as many questions as possible. So maybe we'll kind of like take a different route for the next few questions, do like a little round robin. I will kind of throw questions to some of you all members of the admission team, and hopefully you can answer them, kind of fast to make sure that we get as much information out there as possible. So first question will go to both Audrey and Abby, who you are, you kind of like went to Bates, so you know what it's like to be a student, not only taking classes, but doing stuff for fun. So what do the weekends look like for Bates students? And, what is there to do off campus? So I'll pass it over to Abby first, and then Audrey.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Great question. So primarily, I found that Bates was not a suitcase school. So it wasn't a school that students were packing up their bags on the weekend to go home. I always felt like I wanted to be on campus as much as possible. Some ways that I engaged in campus life on weekends was through campus life has their own activities, whether that's dances or like axe throwing or laser tag in the library, all different sort of events that are really fun to engage in. Another way that I definitely engaged with my students and kind of just like represented my school was going to sporting events. And so a lot of, our basketball gym is one of the smallest gyms in the NESCAC. The lines are like wicked close to the bleachers, and you're cheering on your friends and your like peers and fellows. And that's a great opportunity to sort of socialize, as well as just sort of hanging out with your friends in your dorm, outside on Garcelon Field, or just sort of walking around campus. Audrey, what do you have to do outside of campus maybe?
Yeah. Yeah. I describe Bates as a place where people show up in a lot of different ways. So all many, many different events that we have on campus, people are showing up for themselves, for each other, for the academic events, for the performances. In a lot of different ways, people are showing up for one another here. And then Lewiston, Maine is kind of centrally located in Maine in a really wonderful way that positions you nicely to be able to explore all of the wonderful pieces of vacation land. So whether you want to go skiing on the weekends, you want to go hiking, or you want to see the coast, or you want to travel 45 minutes to Portland, Maine, which is one of it's a highly rated city in the country. It's a great foodie city, really beautiful. So there's a lot of different ways to get off campus as well. But I always say you can fill up a day in any way, whatever is passionate and exciting for you.
Thank you both for answering that question. And Abby, you mentioned that, like students go to plenty of athletic events, which leads me to my next question, which I'll direct to Jared. There's kind of like always this question of the athlete, non-athlete divide, and so, what is the life of a non-recruited athlete in comparison to a varsity athlete, and how do those two groups relate here at Bates?
Oh, actually, I think that's a great question. To be honest with you, I'd say one of the first things that you should keep in mind when thinking of Bates is that strong sense of inclusion. So if you were not a recruited athlete, that in no way means that you cannot participate in the varsity sports. There are tryouts for all of our varsity athletic teams. Our coaches would love for sort of a gem of an athlete to sort of fall into their laps. So I think inclusion is strong, which also indicates that there's lots and lots of opportunity as it relates to athletics. I would definitely say that the school spirit is really strong as well. Like Abby sort of already indicated, our students come out for a lot of these events and support their peers. And so I think you'll see a lot of that. And it's been exciting to watch. Our women's basketball team just won the NESCAC championship for the first time in history. We've had lots and lots of success. And so hopefully we will capitalize on that in the years to come. And hopefully you guys will be a part of it.
Absolutely. I think we're all very excited to see the triumph of the basketball team for sure. Alec, I know there's always this fear that maybe you will, by entering colleges like this kind of like cutthroat environment and a very competitive feel. Is that what you think happens at Bates, or is it more collaborative? What are your thoughts?
I love that was kind of a leading question, because at Bates, we realize the best learning that happens is collaborative. whether that happens in the library, classroom discussions on campus, off campus through community engagements, with teammates, with friends. You'll be learning together rather than kind of sitting in a silo in the library, let's say from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. alone, grinding it out. That might happen occasionally, but when I talk to students, the vast majority of the time spent learning is with one another in collaboration, bouncing ideas off one another, going to office hours with friends, not seeing it as competition, right? So maybe instead of asking friends, hey, what did you get in this exam? Or hey, how did your essay go? Hey, like, what ideas are you using? Where's your evidence coming from? Like, how can we talk this out? And I think at Bates, that makes everything smoother, less competitive, more friendly, and this really leads to a better, more welcoming and more inclusive learning environment for students, faculty, and staff alike.
Amazing. And I will lead the next question, and I believe our last question because of time constraints, to Daryl, which, like, would you mind speaking on the different programs that are coming back to campus now that we are seeing kind of like a little light at the end of the tunnel, and opportunities that are going to be coming back to being in person and kind of like to its full potential?
Sure thing, Joe. Thanks. Hopefully my internet will stay this time. But compared to the year that we were in the pandemic, athletics are back in full competition. Theater and music and art and dance are all back in terms of live performances. Our clubs are now meeting in person as well. Students are able to eat in the dining hall and at the den. So it feels like we are emerging out of this together and coming back to sort of pre-pandemic times as before. So students are studying abroad. There are going to be short-term off-campus classes as well. Short-term in general is going to happen this year also. So it's an amazing time to be back and sort of see how we emerge from this pandemic as a community. So.
Yeah, I will definitely agree that our students are very, very excited for short term to come back. I feel like everyone that I talk to, they're so looking forward to engaging in that way and having that beautiful experience. But thank you all so much for answering those questions fast and efficiently and deeply. And I'll pass it over back again to Lee.
Sure. Well, thank you, Joe, and really thank you, everyone. I'll just add, if I may, we have a couple moments, but just imagining there's a few families in the room, parents in the room, just to Daryl's comment there, amidst the pandemic, which we hope is maybe sloping on out of our realities, however, still very much a part of our daily lives. Bates has been very fortunate that early on in the pandemic, a Bates parent came forward who works at Mayo Clinic in infectious disease and volunteered her time to provide guidance and consult to the institution as we've navigated the pandemic. So I just share that while we want to be in this celebratory moment. Clayton and I were in a consultation with our friends from Mayo as early as this morning. So it's been in some cases on a weekly basis. Sometimes we were able to stretch it out every couple of months, but just to know that we have them essentially in our back pocket so that at every turn, as things shift and change, Bates has been really stringent with being thoughtful about policy, wanting to maintain an in-person learning opportunity and an in-person social life as best we can while adhering to all public health policies and best practices. So I know I'm steeped in all things Bates, but I don't think we could be better situated given that we've had that guidance from Mayo, which I know Clayton could speak for hours on that topic.
I promise I won't.
But I just wanted to share that all that Daryl highlighted, we are fortunate to be able to bring back online thoughtfully and safely in a way that people are just excited and happy. And it is the second day of spring here in Maine, and masks by and large are optional across campus, and you can see our students are just really happy to be outside. So as we think about the fall and what your lives will be in September, we are forever optimistic, but we will keep you abreast of all of those decisions over the next few weeks and the next few months. But I will just say again, thank you, congratulations. Joe did a fabulous job of walking you through the den. This is just the first of many opportunities I tried to count as Joe was scrolling through there. So we are here for you. And it's not just us in admission and student financial services. It is certainly Clayton and other colleagues across the campus that are going to be a part of these various sessions. And when you ask a question, we're here and ready to answer it. So please don't be shy and just enjoy this moment, connect with one another. This is that fun time where we do start to step back a little bit, and you all, as Audrey said, really show up for each other and create community. And that is what you're meant to do. So just really savor those moments, relish it all, and congrats again. Clayton, I don't know if you had any last minute.
No, it's just such a privilege. I can't wait to meet you guys on campus, meet your parents, get the lowdown, and welcome you here. It'll be great. And I'm sure you're such a brilliant and wonderfully talented class. I know you've got lots of good options and choices, and we just love being part of that.
Excellent. Well, thank you all, and have a good rest of your day. Stay in touch.
Okay.